Since South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol's controversial martial law declaration in early December 2024, the nation has been engulfed in an unprecedented political crisis. This decision, along with his subsequent defiance of legal summons, has led to mounting tensions, stirring both street protests and intense political gridlock in the country's parliament. The aftermath of the attempted martial law has seen deepening divisions between the ruling party and the opposition, with significant segments of the population vocally criticizing his actions and leadership. The political turmoil reached a peak when opposition lawmakers in the National Assembly, enraged by Yoon's martial law declaration, launched an aggressive effort to impeach him. On December 14, 2024, the opposition-controlled parliament succeeded in passing the impeachment motion, holding Yoon accountable for his declaration that imposed a temporary martial law across several regions in South Korea. For many, Yoon's actions appeared to be a dangerous overreach of presidential power, one that threatened the very core of the nation's democratic system. Martial law, meant to provide a state of emergency and expand the military's reach during times of insurrection or unrest, had been unexpectedly invoked without sufficient justification, leaving many to wonder if Yoon was using it as a means to preserve his own position after facing growing opposition. Despite the strength of the impeachment vote, however, the political environment remained volatile. Supporters of Yoon, particularly those within his political party and some elements of the military, fiercely opposed the parliamentary action. These factions argued that Yoon had the authority to impose such a measure to protect the nation's security and maintain order, especially amid what they viewed as destabilizing challenges to his administration. The protests outside the Parliament building were fervent, with many chanting support for the suspended president and vehemently opposing what they called an unconstitutional and politically motivated attack on his leadership. The martial law declaration had been preceded by weeks of escalating tensions. Yoon, whose approval ratings had been steadily declining due to widespread dissatisfaction with his leadership, had sought to clamp down on what he viewed as increasing unrest across South Korea. This discontent largely stemmed from his handling of political dissent, increasing public distrust in the ruling party, and accusations of authoritarian behavior that some critics believed were reminiscent of South Korea's military dictatorship era. Political protests against his government had been growing in size, with many citizens calling for greater checks and balances in government operations. It seemed as though the martial law attempt was, in part, a reflection of Yoon's desperation to stay in power amid a weakening political support base. For his opponents, the attempt to suspend civil liberties through a martial law order was seen not as a reasonable action taken to address a national crisis, but as an overstep that brought South Korea perilously close to authoritarianism. After parliamentary approval of the impeachment, which passed with significant backing from opposition lawmakers, many speculated whether it would lead to Yoon's ultimate ouster or a political showdown that would further divide the country. Nevertheless, Yoon's ability to hold on to power was far from certain. Impeachment did not immediately lead to his removal from office, as the South Korean Constitutional Court was tasked with evaluating the case. For many, the impeachment itself was a dramatic political maneuver, one that would change the very landscape of South Korea's governance, with Yoon potentially facing unprecedented legal consequences and challenges in his bid to keep his presidency intact. Given that South Korea has no established mechanisms for the forced removal of an impeached president outside of constitutional court intervention, the ultimate legal proceedings were seen as key. But even as political unrest swelled in the streets and accusations of treason, insurrection, and power abuse reverberated throughout the political world, Yoon's supporters remained committed to his defense. Among the most vocal defenders of the suspended president were elements within the military and law enforcement, including those who continued to stand by Yoon's claim that his actions were taken to ensure the country's security amidst growing threats from anti-government forces. These defenders viewed the martial law order as a necessary step to restore stability and maintain national security, even as critics question the justification behind it.